So the other day I shared with you guys in hopefully a series of videos a story of a manager that I had several years ago that left a very lasting impression on me as to what not to do as a manager, as a leader, as a person, an employee in general. And not that I was trying to be malicious, or not that I'm trying to be malicious, but I want to continue sharing stories about this guy and about my experiences with him. Why? Because I think it's important as a leader, as a person, as a raider, guild leader, officer, whatever the hell you are, to look at not only the successes, but also the failures, because you can learn a hell of a lot from the people around you that are failing as much as you can those that are succeeding. So this gentleman was with us for quite a long time, 4 or 5 years, if I remember correctly. And this guy, just simply put, he shouldn't have been in a management position. When he came on board, he was hired, he started. I was very excited, and I hopefully expressed that in my last video. I was very excited about this guy. I thought that we were going to mesh very well. He was in the military, I was in the military. He was an IT guy. I'm an IT guy. I thought we were gonna work very well together. That I had a lot of high hopes. And when he first came on board, he did what I think every manager does, right? He sat down with the team as a whole, and we're talking a multi-site team, in New York and Boston, and there's several sites in California, and remote people, and whatever. And he sat down and talked to all of us. And then he sat down and talked individually to the guys, whether they be here where I live at, which is, a good chunk of them, or some of our sister sites, via webcam or, on the phone. He sat down and talked to them individually about their hopes and dreams and problems and what they wanted and what issues they were having with the job and their career and personal issues and everything that a manager does when they come on board. And he asked a lot of questions. Now, if you guys don't remember, or maybe you do, I'm going to repeat it anyways, from the last video, the way that the sites were set up, the way that the organization was set up, was this gentleman was at the top, and he had several team leaders at the time, 3 of us, myself, 2 other guys that were team leads. We had a host of technicians that reported to us. We reported to this guy. Now, and I've said this before, but just in case anybody asks or you're interested, now it's simply one of them, and they all report to me. But when he came on board, he asked a lot of questions of his team leads, especially me. I had been there for a while. I had a pretty big team. We were doing a lot of work, a lot of different projects, and we were a great team. But he had a lot of questions. He was always asking stuff. And when you get a new employee, you get a new manager, you get a new person, whatever. There's this honeymoon period, this area where it's okay to ask even the dumbest of questions, because he's a new guy. She's new, he's new. They're going to ask things. They're just trying to wrap their head around it. Totally cool. However, one of the big issues was that this continued for the entirety of his career, his position as a manager over these teams. And what was even worse was it wasn't simply a misunderstanding, which in itself is already a problem, but there was a very much a lack of decisiveness is probably the best and most official word that I can use, to the point of he would be on a conference call, and his boss would ask him, because he was in the same room as us, and now mind you, his desk was at one end of a room, a very large room. Several technicians between him and myself. So there was a length of space, but it was enough that you could stand up and you could talk to each other. And he would call me. Ring, ring. My phone would pick up. Yes, sir. Hey, what are we doing about this? Oh, well, here's what's going on. Okay, cool. hang up the phone. I would turn around back to my laptop or whatever I'm looking at, and I wish I was kidding about this. I truly wish I was kidding about this. 10 seconds later. Ring, ring. Yes, sir. Hey, what are we doing about this? Okay. I'd answer him. Same thing. This would go on 4 or 5. I mean, it would get to the point where some of the guys would laugh. This was a humorous thing. This was a joke now. And it got to the point where he would do this on my cell phone. You know, we had work-provided cell phones. And he would call me 4 or 5 times. I'd hang up and hold the phone in my hand because I knew 10 seconds later, and sure as shit, ring, ring. Oh, one more thing. Hang up. Ring, ring. Oh, hey, by the way, one more thing. And this continued for years. And the problem here isn't, you know, as a manager, and I've started to experience this myself, I don't know everything. I've forgotten a lot about technical work. You know, I don't keep up with the latest software and the latest hardware. I try my best, but given the amount of time that I have doing all the other stuff and leading these projects and leading my team, I can see where my technical skills that a bare bones technician, a technician that's working on computers daily, that's his job. I can see where mine are slowly eroding. But that comes with the territory. I'm a manager. I haven't done technical work in a while. And when I have to jump in, I can do it. But generally, I have to look stuff up. My skills have eroded. That's understandable. I get it. But when you literally cannot retain a damn word about policy, about what was said, about what's going on, about project updates, if you can't remember a damn word, there's an issue. And there was an issue with this guy where he, like I said, he was constantly calling, and it got to the point where it was maddening. And it was one of those things where everybody around me thought it was a fucking joke. But to me, it was excruciatingly infuriating. It sucked. It simply sucked. And here was a guy that ultimately I felt, and I still to this day feel, that, and I think the people around me felt this way, that he could not operate unless he checked in with me. He had, I don't know if it was because he was a pussy, which he most certainly was. Again, I'm not trying to be malicious about it, but I'm gonna say it how it is. He was a bitch, and he couldn't operate. And I don't know if that was the case. There were other issues that this guy had where he would very, very loudly, vehemently, I probably butchered that word, he would very quickly and proudly exclaim how his wife, his lovely wife, laid out his clothes the night before. And you'd be like, what do you mean? Like, she went to Kohl's, or, she went to the mall and bought you a new, shirt, like a new button-up shirt to wear, she went and laid out the children's clothes for the school day, and then she turned around and laid out his clothes. And that was simply what they did. And I don't know what the deal was, but that's the type of guy he was, and he could not operate. It got to the point where he would follow me to do tickets. He would, I don't know what to do. It was like this weird stalker episode, and he couldn't detach from me. He had little to no decisive bones in his body. And he was utterly a failure. And the lesson that I learned from that is, if you find yourself in a situation as a manager where you are ignorant, that's okay. However, you need to rectify that situation immediately. There is this idea in the Marine Corps, when you are doing an inspection, especially a big, like a battalion inspection, right? Battalion commander, colonel's going through and he's inspecting your crap. And he's going to ask you questions, right? Because the whole point is to to show off how much you know and how, good you look and your uniform's all squared away and your weapon's all clean and all this crap. And if you're asked a question and you simply don't know, you can't remember the answer to a question or you're unsure, it's proper to admit, sir, I don't know the answer to that question. However, after this inspection, I'm going to find out the answer for you. And that's what this guy never did. So what you should be doing if you don't know is going to find out and then recognizing I have a problem. I can't remember a damn thing. I need to write it down. I need to whatever. I need to find a solution. This guy never did, and he was a failure. He was excruciating to work with. He was attached to my hip, and ultimately it made me very much so hate this guy. So with that being said, hopefully you guys like this story. You like the little life lesson that came along with it. If you did, you guys know what to do. If you didn't, let me know down below. And until next time, guys, I'll see you.